This is our 8th town hall. We've been going around the county, and we have more locations to go to because the county's massive. And the goal is to get to know you as people, and that you get to know us as people. Government is not the most efficient thing. I'm sure you would agree with that. And the reason I say that is we get busy doing our busy life, the stuff in and out of the office. For law enforcement specifically, we go out and we handle calls for service, we make arrests, and that's a very small percentage of the population. And so the problem with that is we get to do good things, but we miss out on the opportunity to meet all of the people that represent the county in that 95% group. And so that's unfortunate. So what kind of venues do you have where you get to meet law enforcement or your supervisor outside of a meeting, or emergency services if there's a fire or disaster, same thing with fire personnel, code enforcement, trying to get permits? You know, that's like going to DMV and expecting to know the people that work there. You know, that's not how it works. And so government, we need to do a better job of being in the communities and doing more. And that's my big pitch, and we're going to continue to do that. And these meetings will continue on a routine basis. I don't know, whatever you want to see. Monthly might be too much. Quarterly might be good. But I just don't want you to ever feel like you're not hearing from us. And so we got to stop that and change things. And so getting back in the community is a goal of mine, as well as all of these people. Because we work for you. Imagine that. And we take that serious. As sheriff, my boss is not the board of supervisors, it's the public. I'm elected. I work for you. And so I should be able to hear from you and your concerns, and I should make change. Wouldn't that be nice if Sacramento and other places said the same thing? I would like to hear that from them. And I don't say that just, in passing. I really am serious about that. Because if we're not meeting the need of the community, I'm not doing my job, and I don't want to not do my job. I've got a lot of years left. I'm only 40. I can't retire for at least 10 years, but I want to do good work, and this is not a retirement gig for me. So I'm committed to you, and I want to hear from you, and I appreciate that you're here. And with that, I will probably have to pass this microphone. What we'll do is we're going to let everyone kind of introduce themselves, and then we have a slideshow essentially that goes through different things in different departments, and we'll talk a little more at length. And so if you'd like to just jot some questions down, you can. If you want to just listen, great. If you want to ask a question, we're certainly open to questions. If you want to save your question till the end, great. If you can remember all the different questions, sometimes people have a lot. So just don't leave here without questions answered. The other part of that is if you have something personal you want to talk about with law enforcement, or anyone really, and you don't feel comfortable raising your hand, you don't have to. We're not going to force you to air your grievances and feel like you may be embarrassed or whatever. So just save it for later and find us. We're not going to go anywhere for a while. I mean, we'll be here till as late as you want. So with that, I'll pass it off, and we look forward to hearing your questions.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Jess Harris. I'm Assistant County Supervisor for this district. So normally I don't speak during these because this is where the departments really get to kind of explain what they do, and with the 5 million different things that we face in this county, I could go on for a long time. But at the end, when they do questions, if you have something specific that you want to know, I'm definitely available to answer questions or afterwards. So for those of you that don't know me, it's nice to meet you, and I'm glad to see this big of a turnout here. This is probably the biggest one I've seen yet.
All right, good evening. My name is Brian Shoney. I'm the Director of Emergency Services for the county. So essentially I'm the emergency manager. We'll talk all about that and what I do, and we've got a lot of questions, and if you don't know your zone, I'll be there.
Know your zone. Good evening, I am Rick Dean. I'm the Community Development Director for the county. I work for you, but also for the supervisor. I'm appointed by I'm over the planning department, the building department, and also environmental health. So we cover the whole county, and restaurant inspections, hazard materials, and a whole lot of other things. That, we'll enjoy getting to know you a bit this evening.
Good evening, my name is Scott Irvine. I'm the Battalion Chief for Siskiyou County CAL FIRE. So I oversee the normal day job as the lead of youth valley battalions, but with how our schedule works, we flip-flop. So when I'm on my duty days, I'm usually covering South County, basically from Louis Road south to Castello, Ponderosa to McCloud. So as the CAL FIRE representative, the chief officer for the Siskiyou. Trent Bogus, McCloud Fire Department Fire Chief. I also work for CAL FIRE, but I'm not on medical right now. But I have been with your fire department since 1991, so I know the area very well. And I'm very dedicated to this community, and I have been ever since. So my door is always open. Most of you I know in this room, and you know that I get back to you guys fairly quick.
Getting them all to do the same thing.
We can't impress. Nice work, okay. We got rid of the echo, that was cool. I did a little IT work back here. I recognize that we're sitting and you're sitting, and I don't know if you can see, everybody can see, is that, do you prefer? Okay, I'll stand anyway, I guess. I just don't want you to feel like you can't see who's talking, so you guys don't have to, but I'll stand up a little bit. We have a large county. It's almost 6,300 square miles. It's bigger than some states. A lot of it is national forest land. I think it's like 69, 68% forest land. And if you know a little history about Siskiyou County, there was a lot of timber, there's a lot of railroad history, and there's a lot of mining history. And so you have these little communities all over the place. And some of them have very small populations, some of them have a larger population. But, you know, if you've been to Cecilville, anybody been there? It's not the largest place in the world, but there's many different places in the county. And so as the Sheriff's Office, we cover the whole thing, except for the incorporated cities. And we also have contract cities. So incorporated cities have to have law enforcement, they have to have public service, public safety, and they either have to come up with it themselves or they have to contract. And so Dunsmuir, Montague, and Doris all contract with the Sheriff's Office, and we are their police department, essentially. So we work for the city, and it's pretty common throughout California, and that's maybe why you see us in Montague or in Doris or maybe even in Dunsmuir. Now the unincorporated areas, which is McCloud, and anywhere that's not in an incorporated location is Sheriff's Office jurisdiction. So we have substations in Dunsmuir, Mount Shasta, we have one in Doris and Happy Camp. And then we have our headquarters in Wairika. The Sheriff's Office is decentralized, meaning we don't have one office. Law enforcement agencies in California, like police departments, will often have a headquarters. Everybody shares the same bathroom and lunchroom. We don't have that. It's not like one place that everyone goes to and everyone leaves from. So we have the jail that we have to run as a sheriff's office. We have the courthouse where we are essentially the marshal's office, the bailiffs. We have patrol as a function where it's dealing with crimes in progress. We have a coroner's division where we handle all deaths that have to have a cause and a manner, that were not attended by a physician. We also have a civil department, which is all the processing that you may have seen or even experienced. We serve subpoenas to people. We have to serve paperwork. Maybe you get sued, hopefully not. Evicted, we do evictions. So that's the civil side of things. And we serve restraining orders. And we have an investigative unit, which is our detective's office that focuses on major crimes, cold cases, which I'll get into. And we also have a series of special teams. Some of them you're familiar with. Search and rescue is a big one. We have a dive team. We have a canine team. We have a task force. And so those are just some of the things that the Sheriff's Office does. That's a little bit different than a police department, especially locally. They're a lot smaller. The Sheriff's Office in total is 120 people when we're fully staffed. They're not all deputies, but that's just all those different departments and who's in them. And so oftentimes the deputies are split between the courthouse and the jail and then patrol. And since we have 6,300 square miles, it makes it a challenge to be everywhere at the same time. But that gives you a little bit of overview of the actual county itself, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And we'll get into some things, and this isn't like everything we do, but we try to pick a few things that are interesting that we can talk about and then open it to questions in the future. So just as this is 2025 county-wide statistics, and we're halfway through the year. 438 arrests, 2,250 traffic stops, almost 11,000 calls for service, and then 1,000 cases that are open. That's a lot. I mean, we do so much. And again, one of the hard things is as community members, you often don't see what we're doing because we don't necessarily come and knock on your door, which maybe is a good thing. Maybe you aren't being pulled over. So this is why this is really important to engage you in this kind of a forum. So some things specifically for McCloud this year: 423 calls for service, traffic stops are 37, 165 security checks, 6 burglary and theft cases, trespassing 15 calls, 6 vandalism, 10 code enforcement, 8 assaults, and then 4 coroner's cases. Now this is not the entire categorical of what the Sheriff's Office does. These are just some things to look at. And things that are helpful for us when we look at these things, and something I always tell people, don't ever be afraid to report something. And don't think that, oh, my neighbor probably called that in. Because sometimes it happens, even on car accidents, where people will drive by a car accident and they think, well, I couldn't get to my phone, someone's going to call that in, and it delays the response because someone thinks, somebody else will do it. So I say that because it happens quite frequently where people don't necessarily report everything. And so we'd rather be inundated with 15 calls over the exact same incident than to not get one. And so never feel like you are burdening us by calling us. We encourage you to call and let us know what's going on. Even if you don't even know if it's a crime, you just saw something weird. You're smart and something's up. Let us know because we keep track of everything. There's a record management system that you can put anything in there, and you never know where we might go. A man walking in black clothing, 2 a.m. But if that happens again, or there's some other instance, we can tie those calls together, and then we go from there. So you guys are our biggest partners with helping us get information. There's way more of you do than us. And so we appreciate that partnership. So a couple things, marijuana is a big one in our community. You are all familiar with it. There used to be a massive issue just down the road here, Mount Shasta Forest. So back in the day, we'll say in like the 80s, I was looking through an annual report, and it said that we had 1,200 plants that we eradicated in a year, and there was like 100 and something arrests. And just halfway through this year, we're at 90,000 plants. And 12,000 pounds of ready-to-sell product, which I'll talk about, and then 45 arrests, 23 firearms, and 31 bags of Chinese-labeled pesticide, which I'll get into specifically. And if you've been watching it, maybe social media or Facebook, I've talked about this. You may be familiar with it. The point of these numbers is that it's a problem. And it's a massive problem. And the most disturbing part of that is these Chinese pesticides. So, it's been a few years, but when I became sheriff in 2020, it went from kind of talking about marijuana as just the devil's lettuce into the world kind of a thing. And I thought, we need to focus on maybe some different parts of this, because what we're seeing in the field is not just about the plant. It's the environmental destruction. It's the animal abuse. It's the people that are being labor trafficked into that environment. And so we need to get that message out. We need to get it to Sacramento. We need the federal government to do something. And we want the community to know that we're looking at other things, because people have different opinions about the plant itself. Some people use it as medicine. And it's not my job to tell you what you can and cannot use as medicine. But it is my job to look at the safety of it overall and what it causes. Violent crime is a huge one. So, related to those Chinese pesticides, this is tiny font, that'll help you. We did some analysis of those pesticides that we're seeing, and essentially what it is, we had the civil support team from the California National Guard take the bags of pesticide, run them through a machine that's designed for weapons of mass destruction, that way they could detect anything. And what it spit out was that there are about 25 different pesticides in those packages. That's a cocktail. And it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and then the next bag's got more of this and less of that. There's no like rhyme or reason to it. They are likely smuggled in from China, and they are super dangerous. So of those 25, if you just kind of go down this list with me, 17 of them are not even required to be tested for in California. How does that impact you? I'll tell you. If you or a loved one happen to use cannabis or know anybody that uses cannabis, they often go into a licensed facility. They see the certificate on the wall that everything's safe, and they feel good about it. Okay, good, I'm getting some reputable marijuana. They buy it. They use it for whatever purposes, recreationally. They use it for medicinal purposes. The problem is 17 of those things, those pesticides, are not being tested for in the labs. So they're bypassing the system. So, marijuana goes to the lab, they do the tests, comes back all clean. They could have 17 different pesticides still that are happening that aren't on there. That's not good. And you know, I take the liberty to push back on the state because I can, and they have failed in this place of compliance checks and regulation. And of those 17, or the 25, 17 of them are this huge word, which is acetylcholinesterase inhibitors. That's a helpful word, right? I got it, Rick's checking. But essentially, these can act as a nerve agent in the body. It does it to bugs. They're insecticides, essentially. So, you know, they kill things. And they act the same way on the human body, and they deplete those, and it causes neurological symptoms that may be long-lasting. And 8 of them are listed at the Prop 65 as carcinogens. So let's see the obvious problem. carcinogens. Real helpful. And forgive me a little bit, but this is what really makes me mad about the state. Like passionate anger, I would swear if it was okay. Because this is an absolute failure. There are people that are unknowingly consuming this, and you don't hear about it at all. If bacon is recalled or somebody has bad cookies, it's all over the news. And there's a massive recall. But your health, the state's quiet about it. So 6 of these pesticides are groundwater pollutants. Another issue. How long does it take to get in the groundwater? I don't know. But it could take a day, 10 years, 100 years. Does it really matter? The point is that it's a problem. And 3 of them are air contaminants. So what's happening with these pesticides is in that bag, if you were to open it, which you shouldn't, is basically sawdust. And there's a little like fuse in it, a little package. They take aluminum cans, they cut them in half. They're usually in these grow houses or sometimes even in actual structures. And they set the cans out, they put that, like I said, the sawdust in there, they light them and it fumigates all throughout like a bug bomb. Well, the package, if you read Chinese, it'll say like use 1. Well, they'll use the whole bag. 3, 4, 6 times, whatever. It's very sporadic. That all goes on the plant. It doesn't dissipate. As an example, we make traffic stops, and you probably read about them all over the county. And the trucks will have a bunch of marijuana. 4,000 pounds. We had one truck, and it was headed to a licensed place in Los Angeles. Licensed. So we have licensed facilities buying this stuff in Siskiyou County. It's going to Oregon, it's going throughout California and beyond. I think that's a problem for the reasons I just told you about. I've told the state about this several times. They are very hesitant, this is my personal opinion, they are very hesitant to deal with this because they're the ones that thought of it. Proposition 64 came around in 2016 and they decided to legalize, for the most part, marijuana. Maybe some good intentions, depending on who you are, but terrible consequences that will not be addressed by the state, which is totally messed up. And they know about it. I'm very active about that. I've met with many people in Sacramento. I've met with the governor himself about this. And it's still a problem, which tells you, well, I guess we can just move on and talk about something else. Very frustrated in our leadership, but I think the important thing with Board of Supervisors in support, as well as our county, we have been very strong advocates for getting this stuff fixed. And it's not for a lack of trying. We just get stonewalled at the state, which is very frustrating. 0 of these are approved to be fumigated. So every site that we see that has these, they're all felony violations, which is nice because there's actual teeth in some of those felony violations. So my concern for you and anybody else is that these pesticides are being used and you have no idea where the weed came from in the store. And am I trying to freak you out? Well, kind of, because it's factual. And I think the word needs to be spread. And the state isn't doing that. They have a secret portal online to go look. They have a recall section that they don't advertise. And it'll tell you on when they recall a product for a Category 1 pesticide. And it'll say, if you have symptoms, contact your doctor. Okay, well what's a Category 1 pesticide? And what symptoms? How do I know it? They don't want to tell you what the symptoms are because then, again, they have to acknowledge issues. That's annoying to me. Again, if this was bacon, it'd be a total different game. But we've made it so that it's just medicine, people use it recreationally. No one knows, the state has not tested to tell you what this does to you long term. And there's a very small staff that does not actively go out and do compliance checks for the amount of dispensaries that are out there. Do you have a question?
Yeah, well, just kind of a point, I'm a director out of the Shasta Forest where, you know, we work with you guys. It was before my time to help eradicate the groves that were out there. Siskiyou County right now, you can grow personal pot, right? But you can't grow commercial pot. So, well, it's been pretty much eradicated, the commercial growers out of Shasta Forest. What were the tools they had, like I said before my time, and work with you guys to eradicate it, which was a huge problem? And are those tools available in some of these instances on the other side of the mountain?
Great question. So the question is essentially, how did Mount Shasta Forest somehow almost eliminate the issue? Strong property and homeowners association. So they're part of association, and you do have tools. People, obviously, if you're part of that, I don't know if any of you live in one, but you have to pay dues, and there are rules, CC&Rs, you have to follow. If you have an aggressive board and aggressive committees, they will get on you. I mean, maybe your fence is too tall, you painted your house the wrong color, those kinds of things. But they also have, you can't grow stuff in certain places. So what they did is they started going after the homeowners or the landowners and taking them to court and putting pressure on them and fines, and they didn't give up, and it worked. And one of the big problems, the challenges we have a subdivision, Mount Shasta Vista, where essentially they don't enforce anything. And that's why you can't get those people, in a sense, please go out and enforce your CC&Rs, because for all intents and purposes, they've been compromised at that level where they're ignoring and turning a blind eye to that. So that could be a very powerful tool. Juniper Valley, they have a property owner association, which is kind of close near by Shastina. They have been doing it, and they actually did the same thing as Mount Shasta Forest. And they got rid of most of their problems because they stayed on it. So if that answers that question, it's just the tools. I can talk about this forever. I'm sorry to just talk about marijuana, but I have other things, I promise. But the state legislature has made it really hard for us. They decriminalize it to a level where it's just a misdemeanor, unless you have some nasty environmental crimes, which we do. But then you have to find actually somebody who's responsible for it. A lot of these places, there's no one there. But this is where I will say our legislature has failed most of us, in that they continue to push these types of laws out in order to get people out of prison or not to go back into prison. Because I guess they assume everyone goes to prison when there's a law. I think there needs to be laws on the books to deter people from doing things. That's part of it. I mean, it's not that we want to arrest everyone and send them to prison for cultivation. It's that maybe they'll be like, you know what? This isn't a good idea, because I don't want to go to prison for 5 years. I mean, that's why we don't do things, hopefully, and other reasons, because you're good people, but right, that's part of it. And so, again, compromise at the state level. I mean, they just have a different priority. Okay, so, let me move on to marijuana. It's only been 2 hours. Thank you for taking from this there. Okay, something new in 2025. We have a Siskiyou Cold Case website, Domestic Highway Enforcement Team, and then this Northern California Coalition to Safeguard Communities, and then a wolf activity reporting page. And we'll talk just briefly about those. So the cold case website, we've had cold cases, several of them from this community. And when I became sheriff, I mean, there's so many. I mean, if you go on our website and look, there's 20, I don't know how many there are, there's a lot. And maybe over 30. And I think, how sad is that? And if you're affected by this, I can't even imagine what you must go through every year not having closure on something. And my goal is to deal with that, because we don't want them to stay cold and get colder. We get new cases every day that are active and current, but it's like we have to focus on the older cases and solve them. So DNA's come a long way. As an example, we've had a couple cases now where we just sent old evidence back to a lab to be reanalyzed, and they found evidence that pointed to somebody who was a suspected perpetrator just by redoing it. I mean, the DNA is gone incredibly far. So that's a simple thing, but we have to be focused on that and get those things, get that list cleaned up so that people can have closure. There's missing people, there's people that have been murdered, and what I want you to know is that on this website, if you go to our page and there's one on the bottom, there's a link, but it's easier just to go to the sheriff's office and search for it, cold case. If you know anything, or have a tip, feel free to let us know. You can report anonymously, you can report with your name, but here's the thing, as I said earlier, never think that maybe, they don't need to know that, or maybe they already know that. Just let us know. You might have that one piece that actually winds up solving a decades-old homicide investigation. And so I just encourage you to partner with us if you can. If you think of anything, I would love to hear about it. Again, anonymous. You don't have to give your name. We will follow up on it. We have several people now in our investigative unit that have a passion for this. And they're going through the archives looking at stuff. Looking at people that they haven't looked at in 20 years, and they're following up. And we do have several people, I think of 2 people I can think of now, that are in custody for homicides that occurred, I think, in the 80s. And so we want to keep doing that and make sure there's closure. And so just keep that in mind, because this is a priority of mine and the agency. And again, I just think it's so sad that government gets so busy. Not that we're not doing great work, but we can't forget about these people. And we have to bring closure and resolution to families. The other thing is our domestic highway enforcement team. Essentially, the short story is that we have people that are super motivated to find narcotics all over the place, all over on our highways and county roads, in our towns, and they have been to training, and they go out and they look for it. And I am so proud of them. And it's great when you don't have to ask, they just do. They're motivated. They want to get these things off the streets because they kill people. Now, I'm not talking about little things like, we'll not say little things, but this isn't just about marijuana. That's just a little piece. We're talking about hardcore stuff. So if you can't read this, I'll go through. So from 2022 to 2024, the ending of it, these are some statistics that we have about the domestic highway enforcement team. 473 pounds of methamphetamine were seized from traffic stops. 337 pounds of fentanyl. You know what's crazy about fentanyl? A lot. It kills with like tiny amounts. Little granules of it will do it. There's enough lethal doses in what we've seized to kill over 76 million people. Are you kidding? And that's just in our county. Just people driving up and down all over our roads. It goes to other states. It comes into our communities. We have loved ones in our communities that are dying from fentanyl. Hundreds of thousands of people nationwide are dying because of fentanyl overdose. And it's so dangerous. Some people have no reaction. Some people have tolerance. And so it takes more to do stuff. But people are in bondage to this. But this comes from China. It is brought, in some instances, to our harbors in California, before they manufacture it. It goes over to Mexico. It's manufactured with the precursor chemicals and then brought back into the U.S. I'm very thankful that things have tightened up down there. So I'm hoping that this will change because, again, we are having our loved ones killed by fentanyl, and it needs to stop. So all those numbers are due to the deputy sheriffs in Siskiyou County, and I'm very thankful and proud of what they are doing. 78 pounds of cocaine, 54,000 pounds of processed cannabis with Chinese pesticide. That's going probably to a dispensary near you. 31 pounds of heroin and over 145 drug-related arrests. So that's excellent. We hope that they face severe consequences for that. You see some various pictures here. The one on the top left was actually from over here at McCloud. I think this was yesterday. see different firearms that were seized. The team's doing a good job. This is one of those things you might not always hear about what we do, because in what format do we have where we're like, hey, unless we post it online. So we want to do more of these so that you actually get to see the wonderful work that the men and women of the Sheriff's Office are doing. And these are just some other pictures of different drugs that we seize in and around the community. So with that, the other thing that's really important is we joined on with the Northern California Coalition to Safeguard Communities. It's all about human trafficking, which we have in our communities. We want to bring public awareness to it. We want to partner with you that if you see the signs of that you report them. It's people have seen the movie Taken, the Liam Neeson movie. They think, wow, that's some bad human trafficking. Yes, but that's not what we see playing out in our communities. There's a little bit more of a subtle component to that. These are some of the pillars. I'll go through them quickly. Some of the things that we're looking at is living where they work, that victims are often forced to live where they work. They don't have the proper clothing, they don't have the proper shoes, they have no water, they have no vehicle. We see this a lot in our illegal marijuana drugs. And we want to, and I don't care what is happening. I'll say, like, with regard to criminal activity, if there are victims anywhere in that, we have a duty to rescue them. And that's what we're going to be doing. So they have no control over their ID. We encounter people that have their passports taken. They have no control. They can't even give us IDs because someone else has them. That's a sign that someone's being maybe forced into doing something they don't want to do. They're exhausted, they're injured, like I said, malnourished, they show signs of malnutrition, untreated injuries or extreme exhaustion. Victims may be forced to work extended hours, often in dangerous and harmful environments. Chemicals, pesticides, that's harmful. And so we have an outreach and a public campaign to educate the public about these different things. So if you see something, you can say something to us. And again, we have 5 counties that are actively partnering with us: Lake County, Mendocino, Humboldt, Trinity, and Siskiyou. And that's where we're seeing most of this marijuana-related issues. But it doesn't have to be just that. So there may be people in the community. It could be labor trafficking, there's sex trafficking, we've probably heard of that as well. Any kind of trafficking. People should not have that happening, I would say, in our community. And again, there are more of you than us. You guys are great eyes and ears for us, and I would appreciate any help in getting those people help. All right, wolves. Has anybody seen a wolf over here? Anybody?
I have, face to face.
Really?
By myself, hiking with my dog.
And how did you feel?
I'm prepared. I have bear spray, I have noise maker, and I hope I will make enemies at this. But I understand people needing to protect livestock. I understand people needing to protect whatever, themselves. But I also
appreciate that. And just so everyone knows, we're all friends here. Everyone has a right to say whatever they want. Right? The First Amendment, I firmly believe in that. Not everyone is, but I value what you're saying. And if people have other varying opinions, great. We want to hear them. I will share with you so they are endangered species. They are endangered in the U.S., like the U.S. has them as endangered species, and California has them endangered. Not much we can do about that. There are probably more of them than the state knows about.
I'm sure of that.
There's a 100% chance there's more of them. That's pretty common. And so when I look at like public safety and I'll also say like the Board of Supervisors, we're looking at all kinds of different things. The livestock producers are kind of the first people that we're looking at because that's the livelihood of people in our communities. And it's challenging because the way things are written right now is, it's like a bald eagle. You can't go kill a bald eagle. And then you have kind of the opposite. We have coyotes, and they're a non-game animal, and they can be destructive. And oftentimes, livestock producers take care of business in a sense just fine if there's threats. And we're not there with the wolves. And so, what's the likelihood of a wolf attacking a person? Like really low. Now, even with that, and that's a sheriff statistic of really low, it is pretty small, but that still doesn't make me feel necessarily good about running into one. I can't even imagine what you must have been thinking. Now, that doesn't mean, and this is not an advocate for extermination, and that's certainly not my place either. I'm just, what we're trying to do at the Sheriff's Office is collect data so that we can help inform people about maybe where these wolves are in our community. The state released a map. If you go online, Fish and Wildlife put see smiles, I know. But essentially the map shows is where some of the collared wolves were last pinging. It's not the world's greatest tool. So we have in Siskiyou County the whaleback pack. And sure enough, if you open the map, it's just this like polygon over whaleback. And I'm like, well, it doesn't tell me where they are. And they're not going to, because I think the concern is that people will go out and vigilante and take care of the problem, which would be bad. It'd be a felony to kill a wolf for just fun, so don't even consider that. So they are collared, and there are only 3 collared wolves in Siskiyou County. And we are trying to work together with the state to find out a solution to get to a place where, in certain circumstances, there will be an authorization for taking, it's a word meaning kill, a wolf. Oregon did it. And they had to go through it because this was going to happen. There will be lawsuits, right? That's what I deal with all the time. And so the state better make sure, and local government, that they're doing everything they can to try to mitigate the problem before using lethal force. That can take a long time, but that's where things are progressing. Some of the techniques that have been used, they're called hazing. Most people laugh or erupt in laughter when I talk about different ways to get a wolf to go away. Some of it's like making loud noises. There's different colored flagging that can be used to spook the wolves. I don't know who came up with these, but what we've seen in the county is they haven't been the most effective ways. There's different phases of this wolf management plan, and I'm not a wolf expert, but I know enough to be a little bit informed. Phase 2 involves using rubber bullets to hit the wolves, not to kill them. It's non-lethal. And one of the funny things that I say, and I will say now, is that this idea that a wolf, when it attacks livestock, is going to somehow be hit and realize that was not good, and then go tell its wolf friends, not to attack livestock. It seems pretty far-fetched. And yeah, I kind of make light of that, but I mean, that's kind of where we're at. And it's like, this is the state doing the state thing. And meanwhile, we have people that are losing livestock. And the livestock program is no longer compensating like it used to. The livestock producers were getting money for wolves attacking livestock, and it's kind of running out. And it's going to get worse. There's more wolves than ever. But the state approaches are not super helpful. I'll show you a couple slides, and then I'll mention one thing about fish and wildlife. So the estimated state population is 72. I would say that's the Siskiyou County population, based upon what I know. 3 collared wolves in Siskiyou County, 8 breeding pairs. The most frightening statistic is 95, and 95 is how many depredations since 2020 in Siskiyou County. Depredations, a livestock kill. That accounts for over half of the entire state of California's depredations. So Siskiyou County, and this is a fact, has the worst depredation in the entire state of California. So, that's why we write letters to the Board of Supervisors and the Sheriff. We go down to Sacramento. I've been there. I've met with Secretary Crowfoot, Chuck Bonham, who's the Director of Fish and Wildlife. I've met with the chiefs down there. They're aware of the problem. I went to the Fish and Game Commission to talk about issues, whether it's wolves or coyotes, because they're supposed to be advocates for you. And we see problems, and people that are down in Sacramento don't necessarily have this make up as a shot. Know what it's like to be living in Siskiyou County and what we face. And that's why local government, that's the job that we have. And so, this summer there's supposed to be a task force with Fish and Wildlife and the Sheriff's Office, partnering with our county officials, the trappers that we have in the county, through the Ag Department. And also working with our wolf liaison. So we're very fortunate in Siskiyou County, we actually have a wolf liaison, Pat Griffin, who has done a great job of communicating with the state, with the county, with those affected in the livestock community. And the state has even told me this, that we have the model program here on how to move forward. And so we're in a thumbs up from the state. So I think we're in a better place to start doing more things. I can tell you now, this is what, if it ever came to an issue of your human life and a wolf, that is an entirely different scenario. And you have a right to defend yourself. I will caution you, and this is one of the problems. The way the laws are written, it doesn't really provide a way or in writing that you can protect yourself from an apex endangered predator. You think it would be obvious, but the reason I'm concerned about that, and I told the state this, is because that opens you up for liability and lawsuits, just trying to defend yourself. So we're trying to work through all those bugs, and we're pretty proactive about it. And I just want to give a little update on that so you know what's going on. If you do see wolves, like you did, it would help us to know where they are. Again, at some point, it's like we have so much natural forest. People need to know that. I mean, you can walk on trails and you'll see, like, a snake symbol, like, be careful, there's snakes. It's like, well, can we have be careful, there's wolves? I mean, I don't know. Mountain lions, same thing. Bears. I mean, I don't know why we can't educate people.
If you live in Siskiyou County, you're gonna encounter all of those animals.
Right. Very true. And we have a lot of visitors.
Eyes, ears, pay attention, be ready.
Very true. And we do have a lot of people from out of the community that come here. And I'm curious, as wolves continue to increase in size, how that might be, I don't know, viewed by others. And again, this isn't about, wolves are not going to go away. It's how do we handle them and how do we mitigate all of these kind of problems. So it's important to hear from you. Sacramento definitely needs to hear from you. If you don't want to go down there, I'll go down there on your behalf and let them know. And that's what my job is. So I think, oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Going around the animal
Yeah.
conversation, so let's just say the mountain lions get out of line on my property, killing my animals, or I already have a house next to a school, or I have kids and he's sleeping on the front porch and he only shows up at night and you guys show he's not there. What am I right? What can I do?
That's great. Good point. So recently, and we actually had this in McCloud, as you guys maybe know, animals taken off the porch, Squat Valley Road. That ain't cool. So we met with Fish and Wildlife. I've been to the state to talk about this as well. There are provisions, and there is an attorney general opinion on this, that as public safety of law enforcement, we can make the determination for lions, same with bears, to take the animal if it poses a public safety threat. And what I can tell you is that speaking with the ag commissioner, we're trying to make this easier than ever. So where it's at right now, if the ag commissioner finds out about it, if you call animal control and talk about a lion, or if you call the sheriff's office, he is going to contact me, and I, as the sheriff, will authorize the take of that animal, either through the trappers or through our deputies. Congratulations to our deputies that, but they'll go out and take care of the problem. You as an individual, I think it could bring upon liability just because the way that the laws are written, and I want to keep you safe. Not that you can't defend yourself. I'm just letting you know that I think the best thing you can do is at least let us know what's going on. But again, we don't want to, okay, and two things I want to say. One, Fish and Wildlife, wonderful people that work in Fish and Wildlife in our local communities. When I beat up the state, I don't want to ever make you think that I mean local people. We're talking about leadership in the state, Sacramento, when I say state. Our fish and game wardens are responsive. They want to do the right thing and help and partner with us. They get their orders from other people, but they recognize this problem as well. So, but I will tell you that the process is very slow. And we saw what happened here not that long ago, where phone calls are made, they go to the state's like, is there anything else we could do? Because we really don't want to issue a depredation permit. They don't want to do it. Because, I mean, imagine the bureaucracy with that. So guess what? We are going to do it in the local community. And I have every right to do that because, again, it's written down and there's legal precedence for that. And so I'm thankful that that is one thing that I can think of where we can act as local government and we don't have to wait for the state. Because I have watched game wardens wait and wait and wait, and then the lion's gone. And that just happened. And it's not their fault, it's the system. And so we're being more proactive about that. And so if you ever have an instance of that, call us. Because I want to make sure that we can get people down and take care of that right away. And again, with regard, if you have an active thing that's threatening your life, you can take care of business. I'm just trying to protect you the best I can by having it come from a legal authority so you don't have to deal with the fallout. Because one thing I've learned is that you may think you're fine with me, even your game warden, but then you have activists in different organizations that will come after you and sue you. And I don't want to see you get caught up in that. I'd rather be sued on your behalf, but your name's not in it because we took the act. Because we need to be that barrier, and I don't want you putting yourself in that. So if you can, that's what we're here for, is to take care of business with that. Okay, I've talked now for 3.5 hours, and it's supposed to be 15 minutes. Sorry. But anyways, I'm very passionate about what I do with these things, and so anything that you have questions about, we're happy to answer those. And so, there we are. With that, we're going to toss it over to Brian Shinoni, who's our fabulous director of just kidding. We're not going anywhere, Brian. Yes, sir.
It's not long enough.
I agree.
You showed the one slide of weapons and drugs, and you mentioned that was in the cloud. And you stated that it's difficult for you to get the information to us. We had a loud explosion in town this week.
Okay.
No warning about what that could possibly be, even though apparently it was a controlled situation.
So, have you gone to our Citizens RIM, or we have a Citizens RIM portal, it's called?
What's it called?
Citizen RIMS, RIMS. So it actually, if I can pull it up, it'd be great. But if you go to our website, it will show active cases that we're handling in the community. It'll show arrests that we've made. It will show in custody persons in the jail. It gives a pretty good amount of information. Well, maybe she's going to bring it up. So, and with regard to that, and we were having some discussion about this. So a lot of times during a disaster or something, we send out, we're trying to talk about, reloading this, but it'll be that we send out alerts, right? Like there's a fire, there's some disaster or something like that. And we can send out alerts. There's a missing person, there's somebody running down the road, we need you to lock your doors, there's smoke, there's fire, there's whatever it is. So one of the things that could be like something that comes out where, I mean, imagine getting a notification, we're about to explode something in town. I mean, that might create more of a problem because people are going to be like, what is going on? And so we don't want to cause panic, but we recognize that it's one of those things like, what's the right decision there? And there might be a better way of doing that. I'm willing to think about that. I just don't want to create where we kind of use it when it's not a serious incident. Yes, Therese.
On the same note, a tree fell on a house, crushed a house, and everybody went over there to go check it out. People walk around the property, all over the property, you know, and anytime anything happens in town, I get on text and phone calls. And, you know, and people they're on the property, you know, which is technically a violation, and then, you know, they're coming to me with suggestions and things. We get a lot of that, so I don't know how wonderful this app is. Something happens, everyone's going to want to run over to see it, and, you know,
Yeah.
get on properties.
So, with transparency comes responsibility. So, if you could just focus on one thing and hold it for a second. That'd be really cool. So go to McCloud. Okay, so just zoom in for a second, and then just, there you go. Okay. Very good. Okay, so this is an example, if you can see it, I don't probably make it bigger, but that's okay. We can look at it later if you want. This is Citizen RIMS, and kind of what it does is it has just information about different types of calls. Now, it doesn't put exactly where it is. It doesn't say John Smith at 123 Main Street, you know, was arrested for domestic violence, because there's issues with that. But what it'll do is it'll show kind of an approximation, the 5800 block. Now, the smaller your community, you're going to know, you're like, that's right there, I see all the cop cars. So what we're trying to do is we want to be more transparent and have these things, but it's not going to be perfect, and it can generate some drama. But so this will say like proactive law enforcement, 100 block of Campus Way, and it'll give a little bit of information and even a number. And what you can do always with our office is you can call us and say, hey, I want to know about that. And they should tell you all about it. Because that's kind of what our office does. You can get reports if you want about certain things within reason and time. But this will show the different types of things, whether it's traffic stops, arrests, explosions, I suppose, will be on there. But so this would be a good tool, I think, for all of us to be able to look at and know what we're doing, but then also maybe even to report. So over here, if you could maybe, can you go to the actual site there? No, the RIMS site, right there, Citizen RIMS. Maybe just. Okay, so this is the actual site. It's much bigger now, if you can see it. So, over on the left-hand side, it says crime and activity, most wanted, missing persons, stolen vehicles, warrants, arrests, incarcerated people, press releases that we have, crime statistics, vacation home checks. So you can, if let's say you know that you're going to go out of town, you can actually let us know online, and that way we can come check out your house to make sure. You can even register security cameras to let us know that you have a camera. That doesn't get shown out to the public, but it would be real handy to know that if something terrible happened or there's any kind of crime, it's like, oh, John across the street has a camera. Hey, do you mind if I look at your Ring camera? And then boom, we solve case or whatever it is. So this is pretty cool, and so we want to increase that. Can you come on the incarcerated persons real quick? Okay, just so you know, if you're ever curious about who's in jail, now this isn't going to give you their booking photo because
But we all know
you may have photos on your phone. I don't know. So, but what it'll tell you if you click on one of them, anyone, there you go. It'll tell you who they are, how old they are, and then it'll tell the charges. This is DUI, a couple different sections of that. And again, these are people that are in custody. So if you ever have a concern and you are curious, did that person get arrested? Now, it doesn't mean that they weren't arrested, just are they sitting in the jail right now? We have another section there that's for arrests, that's just above it. Now, these will tell you, you have to put in, I think, a name, but there's a date range. These will tell you people that the sheriff's office has arrested, OU. This won't tell you what Wairika. So the in custody will be anyone that's arrested in the county. Could be CAL FIRE that arrests somebody, and they'll be in there. But if it's an arrest that we've made only, it'll be under arrest. So you can kind of browse that, and so it's neat. We want to do more of this. I think we've come a long way with that, but we're trying to modernize the agency. It takes money, but we've been very thankful to have the support of the Board of Supervisors in getting additional funding to get this type of stuff. Okay, now I've added so many topics. Have we answered those questions? And time's up. Okay, thank you for coming. Okay. Ryan Shadoni, right here. Stand or walk. Here's a clicker.
All right, thank you, Sheriff. I'm going to talk about holes in marijuana. No. So, my name is Brian Shadoni. I'm the Emergency Manager for Siskiyou County. I've been in DC almost 5 years, and when I took the job, somebody told me that I would come to Siskiyou County and I would be so bored if I could be on the desk that I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I'm still waiting for that day. So one of the big pieces for us is this 4 pieces of emergency management, 4 phases of emergency management. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but we're going to really talk about some of that and how that pertains to you. There's a little creek around here called Mud Creek. You may have heard of it or something like that. Yep. So that was one of my first big pieces.
Don't mind me, sorry. The TV is blocking the speaker. I just realized that.
So, yeah, so Mud Creek was one of those, how do we fix this, impacting the community, potential impact for bigger pieces that are going to be concerning down the road with no water systems. And then just the fact that Mother Nature's just not going to let up on that one. So that is where we look at this, right? So that's like our responding. So we're going to respond to that. We're going to work on how and what we're going to do to protect lives, property, during an emergency. So our response piece is very, very small. Sometimes it's a day, sometimes it's a few days, a week. We have wildfires a couple weeks. Once we respond, we move into recovery. And recovery is one of those that takes forever. And it's that long term, for some people don't know this, but Hurricane Katrina is still on the books with FEMA in the recovery status. So it's never going to be made right. So our job is to rebuild from that emergency and make it better and bring the community back. By doing that is one of the things we can do with that is mitigate. And what went well and how can we fix this so it never does that again? And some of that might be wooden telephone poles or wooden fences up against houses or older material that's very flammable. What can we do to mitigate that so it doesn't happen again? One of the things that we're seeing a lot of is prescribed burns. We help with pushing that out there, getting good fire on the landscape, trimming of trees and limbing of trees. We work with CAL FIRE, we work with a lot of groups throughout the county to help with that. And we also pull a lot of money from state and federal to ensure that we're able to do that. So home hardening is a really big one in Dunsmere right now. We're working on some stuff in this part of the county, or this side over here. And then we have, for the whole county, we got a really large grant that we were able to disperse out to the fire safety councils and some of the other groups to ensure that we're really working on home hardening and some really good projects. And then once we're doing that, then we're going to talk about prepare, which is what really I talk about the most, because because how do we take those actions to ensure that all of that stuff goes a lot easier? And one of the things that we really want is the community, to be involved. And one of the things that I study and look at a lot as an emergency manager is, for those of you that were around in the 80s, in the 60s and the 70s, we were always under threat of nuclear war. So we prepared for that. And I remember going to the desk and doing all that stuff, right? Well, we were very prepared as a community. So we had civil support teams, we had civil defense, and one of the things that we kind of lost that over the ages is that, like, oh, well, somebody will come help us. Well, it starts with you. So being prepared and having our house, we have extra food, we have extra water. My wife is one of those, stop buying extra food, and stop buying extra water bottles, and then like when you need it, so this is, like I was saying, this is what we do. So one of the things that really is planning and training is a piece that we do a lot, and we go out into the communities, we work with public health, we work with the sheriff's office, and we look at whatever. So as an emergency manager, my job is to think of all the worst things that could possibly happen, and then how is that going to be even more worse, and what can I do to make a plan for that, and hope for the best on that plan. But at the end of the day, I'm really fun at parties, which is not all doom and gloom, like I promise. I can try to tell people that. And then once the response happens in the county, and the emergency manager, so what that pushes is the emergency operations center. So when the county there's a disaster or an incident that is going to be multiple days or longer, we open the emergency operations center in Wairika, and at times we've had to move it, but currently our main emergency operations center is in Wairika. You would think it's like the super cool thing you see on the movie, like the situation room that Trump uses. It's not. It looks like this. But we do have a lot of TV screens. So one of the things that we did is really modernize that. When I came in, we still did everything on paper. And one of the pieces that I was really, really fortunate is that I was able to rebuild our EOC and rebuild our response and how we look at that as a whole. So the Emergency Operations Center really takes into account how to make everything in the community easier. Animal sheltering, human sheltering. Law enforcement is doing their law enforcement thing, fire's doing their fire thing. We are doing everything else. So, sheltering for folks, we are looking at animal support, large and small animals. We work closely with the ag commissioner to ensure that all of those pieces and all of those needs are met and to mitigate human suffering. That's really what we do. So for you, is looking at like being prepared. What does that look like? Have a go bag. Extra water, extra food, dry food. Next time you're like food for last, or one of those places that always have like dry food, grab a couple extra things. Just keep some stuff for at least 3 days, but more like a couple weeks. You never know. One of the things we first responded to here in McCloud was the gnarly snowstorm like a couple years ago when there was no power. No one told me about it. They were like, oh yeah, I called down and Chief Miller was like, oh yeah, we got that power like 4 days. I'm like, wait, what? So that was one of the things. So we work with stakeholders, we work with Pacific Power, we work with PG&E, we work with across everybody. I have everyone's phone number in my phone if you want. So we make those phone calls to start getting those things pushed and getting those needs in the community met. One of the things to look at is in that go bag is having your documents in a phone charger. People always forget about that. I'm sorry, Mom, I always talk about this, but during a car fire, she didn't have a phone charger, so she went into her garage, power was out, turned her car on and plugged it in, and was charging her car, or charging her phone. And she got really sleepy. Well, that would have been terrible. She called me and she said, oh, my head hurts. I'm like, no, so, worst emergency manager ever. So that was one of the things I made sure my mom had her phone charger in the bag. So looking at stuff like that, right? Like in a disaster, that's when you've got to think about those little pieces. Have a backup plan. What does it look like at night in the dark? Which is usually one of the things. But in smoke or heavy, thick fog, heavy, thick smoke, what does it look like to evacuate your area? If you're in Mount Shasta forest, there's challenging roads out there. Esperanza's fight for that all the time. Looking at how to get out in all different ways. Sometimes the evacuation route isn't always the easiest route. There's gonna be trees that are falling, there's gonna be stuff that's gonna be happening. The state is asking all counties and all jurisdictions to start building evacuation plans per each road. That's not always something that we can do because we don't know where the fire's going. If it's Oakland, we kind of know where the fire's going. There's like one place that has trees and it's going to burn. We have trees surrounding us, so I can't say everyone just go this road because this is going to be the best road. What we can do is push evacuation notices, evacuation warnings, orders, and then you as a community, you know these roads a lot better than we're going to be able to tell you where to go and what not to go. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this since we moved here. If there was a fire, there's only one road, 89.
Yes.
Please tell me, what? We all just start heading for 89?
So yes, and one of those things that we are looking at, right, is, and we'll talk about this, but there is the ability for us, we work with CHP and with Sheriff, and when we push an evacuation warning / order, if something like 89 was compromised, we can close both lanes and push all traffic out on either side. So those are some of the things that we look at, and we look at that. We look at that in a half a campus, Highway 96, closing the road for two-way traffic, and it becomes one-way all out traffic. What we don't want to see is what happened in Paris. I grew up there, so I watched that happen to my friends. It was absolutely something you never want to see. So one of the things we can do with that is know your zone. Protect.genesis.com. But that's pretty straightforward. We worked with years ago when we got Protect Genesis, and it was called Zone Haven back then. We were the only jurisdiction, we were the only county in all of California that was a rural county that adopted Zone Haven. And they were like, oh, it works great. But they'd only ever used it for like San Jose and bigger metropolitan areas. When it came to a rural area, they were like, oh my gosh, this is really difficult. And we're like, yeah, we told you, this isn't easy to do. So one of the things we're able to do is add layers in the last couple of years, is add layers of houses in conjunction with the zones. And one of the things we're able to do is really start to carve out pieces that can be most compromised. What we've done with that is it's based off of drive sheds. So when we see like MCU 663, that's based off of what roads are going to get out of that, or what roads are going to help me evacuate 6613 onto Highway 89. So we really take this serious. So one of the things to do is like know yourself, have your numbers down and like where you're at. Don't know at Genesis or Protect at Genesis. You type in your address and it will tell you what zone you're in. Yeah, you can put that up. Sure. So yeah, so and then there's a little QR code. You can scan that. It'll be on there. Little magnets. We have a few back there. Just write your zone on there. I live in Etna. It's 3816 is my zone. You know, we show I don't know my zone for where I work, which is in Wairika. I'll just talk to Sheriff and go back with me. So make sure you have like your zone where you work, if you have grandkids or kids, where they're at, what does that look like? So know all of your zones. And the reason why is because that attaches to this. So when there's an incident or a fire, we push out an evacuation warning. And a warning means, hey, it's time to start thinking about going. Things are getting spicy. That, is one of those that if you take a little time, you have extra animals, you have extra needs, you want to get out, moving up in a warning is totally okay. Maybe start having that stuff, that go bag, having your documents by your door. We keep that by our door in fire season. For the last few years, we've always kept it by our door. Why is that there? A trip over it, that's annoying. Last year we had a Shelley fire and we were under evacuation. So we have to grab our stuff and go. Well, at least, and I don't know. So, anything else here? So yellow evacuation warning, when you push that evacuation warning, it's going to have that code in there. It's going to have an MCU 663 and then a designator on where to go, what to do with that. That's why it's so important. We used to do this road to this lane to this house. So what it was taking so much time. So those are valuable seconds that we can't push out. So right now in a zone, I think the last time we did it, it was about 14 seconds from when the IC and some commander called us, hey, we need to evacuate the zone, to push to receiving on the phone. It was about 15 to 16 seconds. Okay.
So is this the SISU alerts?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so if you sign up for that.
If you're signed up for that, yeah. So the other part is an order. So the state of California only uses two. They only use warning and order, yellow and red. Oregon uses a bunch of different other ones like ready, set, go. We don't use that. It's not part of the vocabulary in California, so it's making it easier. It's yellow, warning, red, order. Order means go. And it's one of those that if we take that very serious when we're pushing an order. That is one of the things that it is time to go. It's not one of those, let me just finish up getting the last little bit of my things going and then I'll get out of here. Good example of that is the last few fires have been they're moving so quick that by the time we're pushing an order, it is definitely time to go. With that also comes an iPod. So it's integrated public alert and warning system. It is a FEMA system. It is not a fantastic system. But one of the tools that we can use with iPods is that we can push it whether you're signed up or not. So it goes to everywhere. And it's a little bit sloppy, it's a lot bit sloppy. So when we draw the polygon, so this is a polygon, we draw that and it's going to bleed out 3 to 4 miles on each side. It's very limited, you're only around 96 characters in it, so we have to be very specific. But when we push it, it goes to everything. So if you have a smartwatch, it goes, if you have a radio, a television, it goes to everything. If people are in the backcountry, it goes to their beacons. And if you're out in the backcountry and you're either camping or spending extended time out there, one of the things that we recommend is having a NOAA weather radio. Very easy, you can throw some AA batteries in there, it lasts forever, but it will receive icons. And we tell that to a lot of folks that like work in the backcountry, just have a little something extra to turn on that doesn't really ever go bad. So those are our warnings and alerts. Ready, SISQ, alerts at alerts.readysisq.gov. If you are not signed up, that is where to sign up. What we really like about this, we used to use Code Red. We found it just wasn't working anymore. It's like one of those, they made it and then they just stopped working on it. So the state adopted ReadySysQ alert, so it's Smart 911. What we really like about this is you could really nail down a lot of information into it. So if you have dogs, you can put that in there. If you have a sticky gate that doesn't open really well, you can put that in there. And then also what we really like is when we send those alerts out, you can respond back to us. So you can give a code that says like if you are evacuated or you need assistance, we can send that out and you can respond back. And it will give us that information. If you only have your phone number there, it won't give us all the information, but if you have a lot of information in there, it spits that information back to us and we can really decipher what needs to happen. So and if you don't have this, we've already done our yearly test, but we have all the little sign-up pieces back there and we can help you with that as well. So these are some important links that we use. ReadySysQ alerts, that is our actual web page that you can go to during an incident. It has every map that you could ever imagine. And then it also has an RSS feed, so it's telling us what's happening constantly with each one of our alerts. The Zone Haven and Genesis Protect, that's the zones, the know your zone. And then I always recommend this one. It's Quick Maps at Caltrans. It's just one of those during winter. It's the best. I mean, you really just go and find out, like, is it really worth going ready for trying to go to Bedford today? No, I'm just going to stay home and sit up and listen to it. OES Facebook. So our Facebook, Sheriff's Facebook, we push all of our information to that. We know it's still a really good tool here in Siskiyou County. People love it, so we continue to use our Facebook and all the during the incident, our public information officer and then our public information specialist, Sage back there, they're just pulling out information. OES, we use Twitter. No one else really uses except the news agencies, but they'll pull from our feed as well. And then that trip check, if you're going north, this is more for like North County, going into Oregon as that goes up. So with that, that is all I have. I'll be around for questions if you need some help signing out. Please do. One of the things that we always talk about is not the first time being introduced to you is not during an incident. So really appreciate you being able to get out to the front and saying hi to everyone.
slides and we take any questions. So we work very well with Cal OES. Anytime we have incidents within the county, we're working directly on those evacuations. That's one of the first prompts that we're going to be giving out as an incident commander is what the immediate evacuation orders and what is the issue for the areas. Okay, so there's no slideshow for me.
We talked about the evacuations. I work with the PCT hackers in the country, and more than likely they're going to be in that forest land. You don't, that's not your jurisdiction.
So I'll explain SRA real quick. So CAL FIRE protects SRA, State Responsibility Area. That is unincorporated private land for the most part, it's the easiest way to say it. So we protect outside of city limits, non-national forests. We do protect some national forests through a DPA swap, basically, just our facilities are closer. But that is our main emphasis, is unincorporated land, private land within California.
Yeah, and I can talk about the PCT. So, PCT Trail Angel, fantastic group. Thank you for everything you guys do. Every year we work with you. It's outstanding. So, with that, when there is a forest closure that is being recommended to us by the Forest Service, we're in contact with them constantly, and that is one of the pieces that we do have to really take into account for, that a lot of those folks are on foot into the backcountry and without getting critical information that they need, which is one of those rewind back to the iPods, and it goes through an iPod. So most of them are getting that on their Garmin, anything that they use. And then coordinating that with either groups like you, we've helped a lot of folks through like sheltering, and then either buses to get them where they need to go, and that's just a whole piece of it. It's just every time they get to where we are here in Siskiyou County, it's fire season, and it's like, I feel so bad for them. And there's like, I live in Atlanta, and they are at our park, and I'm sorry, everything's closed. They're like, oh, the trail's closed, but here's some donuts, I'm sorry. So one of the things that we can do is work with groups like you. I'm almost positive you have my phone number. Feel free to call me if you have concerns on that once this starts kicking off. But yeah, we work with other partners. Like I said, we have pretty much everyone's phone number in our phone. So we're calling, and that's our job in the Emergency Operations Center. So we have a whole whiteboard dedicated to the PCT hackers.
I don't know if there's any more questions. I can give you a quick update for us. So as of pretty much June 1st, we're fully staffed. Siskiyou unit staffs 13 frontline type 3 engines. So those are the ones down Squaw Valley Road. So 13 engines at 7 stations. We currently have 3 hand crews normally staffed. We have a firefighter hand crew, which you'll see out there doing project work. And we usually are able to staff 2 CDCR engine crews. In the unit now, we've got our 3rd dozer online. So we have 2 dozers, one at Fort Jones and then a dozer on weekend. And then during peak staffing and known fire events, we're able to staff a 3rd dozer that usually will be sitting at week. Through some money throughout the state, we've been able to acquire exclusive use. So it was ours, basically a rental helicopter, is the easiest way to say it. So that helicopter started 2 days ago, I believe, and it's stationed at Montague Airport, or Siskiyou County Airport, Montague. That's in Blackhawk. Able to dump, I think, 600-700 gallon bucket. Very fast machine, and that's going to be, so based on the weather, resource drawdown, it depends on how much stuff, but that'll be on those dispatches for outdoor fires moving forward. So we're fully staffed, fully ready to go, and we've already been, the first day the helicopter was on, it was probably flying in North County already. So, any questions for the confighters?
What's with all the fires up around Valley Street?
Great question. The officials are all under investigation, so burn ban went in effect. So I think there may have been some delay. It's speculation on my part. So, burn ban's in effect, so there is no debris burning anymore. Where burns been shut down. There's cooking fires. There could be a lot of different things. We did have lightning come through and
just say this, when it says yellow and you use your brain, you see it around, get out. Because the ones that waited, all my neighbors that waited till the last minute to save their house, it was to get 4 blocks, just 2 hours, and you're stuck. So when you see it, get your animal, get the neighbor's staying because her cat was in the bed. And her cat burnt up, and the fire department had to waste their time saving her. So my point is just use your brain and get out. You can always drive 20 minutes and come back later. It's just, use your head.
And I recommend watch duty. I'm sure the majority of people in here are already on watch duty. I mean, we as fire professionals, I check it daily. You'll see stuff, we'll see stuff happening, hear stuff through social media. Get on watch duty, you got live camera updates. You can see live updates of the fire, like from the fire personnel. So people are, if it's the scanner app, people are listening to scanners and putting live updates on that. Like I said, on my days off, I'm not listening to the radio, I'll check watch duty when I hear something going on.
Real quick, a couple of years ago, I had a knock on my door, and it was someone from Cal Fire wanting to look on my property to see if there was anything that could catch fire, or if you had dead brush or whatever. Are you guys still doing that? Because
Absolutely.
you are,
So
you're
we do,
in the
it's
cloud.
called the 4290 inspections, and LE100 is another word for it. So we do defensible space inspections, and it's for pretty much all the structures in the SRA. So if you're in an incorporated, you're not gonna see Cal Fire come into Mount Shasta City necessarily to do LE100 inspections. We're doing the inspections that are in the SRA land. We have a dedicated staff for that particular department, so they're doing every other year. They try to hit properties. We have an interactive map as they go. It shows the property. It shows when the last time that inspection was done. And so we have a worksheet we work with, and it's just a checkbox. And we try to leave copies with the homeowners, and it's more recommendations. At the end of the day, we're gonna, if it's an issue, we can proceed down the legal route with it, but we're really just there to give you an idea. Hey, let's look at the roof clearance. Let's look at pine needles on the roof, the chimney clearance, the trees. We have the 30-foot reduced fuel zone, and that's really what they're looking at. Is that 30 feet from the structure out should be no real ladder fuels, no flammable materials, and that's really what they're there for.
I'm going to Mount Shasta Forest, and I would be called, request somebody to come out.
Absolutely. We have a station right here. Feel free to give them a call. They may be busy. Obviously, we've been really busy already this year, but we can have somebody out there that day or within a couple of days. They're dedicated people. I think they were in Castella today doing inspections down there.
Because when we first moved out there, they came by on a routine, and then I remember seeing that.
You'll see it about every other year. It's kind of the plan. We can look at some places historically haven't been serviced as well, and we're going to start getting down the road and maybe we'll get there every other year.
What about fireworks? Last year they were banned in McCloud.
They're going to be banned again. I mean, during the 4th of July, everywhere they're banned, they're still going to have fireworks, and the sheriffs are really busy, and we're really busy. Those, they see us coming, they scatter, and the moment we leave, they start shooting fireworks. So we can only do what we can do. We have dedicated those 4th of July, New Year's Eve. We have our staffing, I'm sure, just like every other department in the county, to try to take those service calls.
Vaughn, I'm gonna try to get that sign that was out on Highway 89. I'm gonna try to get that sign back.
Oh, good.
I was supposed to bring that today, and I was late, so I gotta bring it tomorrow.
You are bringing it?
Yeah, it was supposed to be today, every time. Full responsibility.
Any other questions for the councilors? Thank you for having me.
So before we move on, would you like to say something?
No, just something real quick, we're gearing up for fire season as well. well. I don't know most of you guys, if you know this, but I have 3 full-time paid staff firefighters, paramedic, and EMT drivers. So we have full staff at our fire station that has 24 hours a day, 7 days a week coverage. We've been working with the Cal Fire Station down in McCloud and out at Ponderosa, and as well as with the Forest Service to get geared up for the fire season. So expect to see my engines on local fires, which we have been. I think in the month of May, we had 9 vegetation fires in the McCloud area. A couple of them are still under investigation for arson. So that's pretty much all I can say about that. But just know that we're there as well. And to add a little bit on to the 4290 or the LE100 stuff, McCloud has adopted the 4290 program in the city limits. We don't have any jurisdictional responsibilities for wildland per se within the city limits. That all falls out on Cal Fire. But again, we do follow the 4290 regulations. So they were out here a couple of years ago. I do remember seeing them. So yes.
I just want to know if you guys ever drive through the alleys to make sure you actually can get
Yes.
through some of them?
Yeah, well, that I am going to need to speak with the sheriff about. That is, I have a couple of target hazards. I can't get my engines through. And
Right.
there's going to get a point where there's going to be a life situation with a fire or something else, and I'm not going to be able to get my equipment through.
Right.
So I need to get with the sheriff and his fellow officers to figure out a way to clean up the alleyways a little bit.
Does CAL FIRE do something about the ones that are definite, problem, fire hazard?
Well, like Chief Irvine said, that they're only limited to what they can do. So, they're limited to what they can do. They go out, they do their inspections, and then they'll go back out for a re-inspection if there was obvious violations, and then they'll sign it. But where that goes from there,
Nowhere.
yeah, and I can contest that their law enforcement battalion chief, he's got a stack of stuff as high as, as my hand here, of cases that he's working on right now, just for around the unit. So, extremely busy. So, I do need to, like I said, I do need to get with the fire chief, the sheriff, and
We'll do fire.
Question, if they're renters, can the landlord be cited?
yes, absolutely.
If you have a vacant lot next door and the weeds are thick and 2.5 to 3 feet tall, do I call you guys or do I call the service district? Because whoever owns it is not in town.
Yes, and that would be a CAL FIRE issue, because like I said, we don't really necessarily deal with that, but also, it would be also a service district issue as well, yeah.
I'll be calling you guys.
If it was, is there a structure on the property?
No, it's going to move the old one off.
Is it right next to your house?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And I don't know what.
My parents are running into the same problem at their house, so. Tom, did you have a?
Well, I'm actually after the sheriff, but that's okay.
Oh.
No problem. And with that too, and I think we'll get there soon with Rick Dean here and talking about maybe some code enforcement strategies as well. But it's kind of a partnership with a lot of these things with alleyways. I mean, we can look at criminal things and towing, But also there's code issues, but we're all good about partnering, so that might be something we can talk about soon. But before we get there, we have a special guest who'd like to talk to you about the chaplain program. Please welcome Keith Bradley.
I don't have a seat at the table, but. Can you hear me over there?
Yes.
All right. The chaplain program started in 1996. Sheriff Charlie Bird, the story is that he was at a meeting and he picked up a brochure, talked about chaplains, the sheriff departments. He came back, called in a sergeant and a lieutenant and said, I want one of these. And I don't know if any of you remember Sheriff Charlie Bird, but if he wanted something, he got it. And so in '96, the program started. I became part of the program in April of '96. And I think there were about 12 pastors who initially started. It's hard to get that number in today's world. But the program started, there was some money in the county. We received training. I'm certified with the International Conference of Police Chaplains. I'm also certified with the Critical Incident Stress Management program, and so that's just part of the background that we use in what we're doing. One of those original chaplains was right here from McCloud, Pastor Cliff Merrow, who was pastor of Baptist Church, a super good friend of mine. We were in seminary together, and so he served until his passing, and did a great job as one of our chaplains. Currently, I live in Mount Shasta. We have another chaplain lives in Mount Shasta. A chaplain kind of retired in Weed, a chaplain out of Lake Shastina. He not only works with us as sheriff's department chaplains, he also works directly with Shastina PD and trying to make some inroads with DP. And then we have chaplain living in Eureka. He's part of the sheriff's chaplain, and he works with, we're working on getting him with YPD. Then we have a chaplain down in Horse Creek, that helps out down that direction down here. So those are our current chaplains, and I have, in 2021, the sheriff put forth a thing before the board of supervisors that approved it. I'm actually working on a contract, 20 hours a week, to provide chaplain services. We do it through the sheriff's department. Our goal, our purpose is to provide care, counseling for law enforcement personnel and their families, and that looks a lot different in different situations. That's why we are here, and that's our main purpose, to do that. What is it that I do? Well, there's some minimal administrative things. I always have to make some phone calls, and encourage our chaplains, and do some meetings with them. Well, one of the big areas is ceremonial. First and third Tuesday of the month, the chaplain program is responsible for the invocation of the board of supervisors meeting. So I do that, and I'll call another one of my chaplains as they come and take care of that. I also do once a month the Mount Shasta Fire Protection District, where the fire run outside of city limits of Mount Shasta. I go down and do the invocation for them. So I'm available for those kinds of things. Just recently we were at a sheriff and I meeting, and someone requested a chaplain to have an invocation at that meeting, and so I go and provide that. So I'm available for those things. I call those the ceremonial things that we do. I've done a lot of things with the veterans and Memorial Day celebrations. year in May, we sponsored as chaplains the Peace Officer Memorial program in Wairika. Just basically a 30-minute program. We say a few words, sheriff says a few words. We do the ceremony stuff, and then we read the names of each individual in our county that has died in the line of duty, serving the communities, and they're all over the county, and a variety of places. So those are the ceremonial things that I'm part of many times. Then I look at the areas where I do things because I want to support the sheriff's department and other law enforcement. I'm really available. Anyone call me, no is not in my vocabulary, and so I'm available to do a lot of things. And I'll just say that over the years, I've done a lot of frequency of new readings with some of the volunteer fire departments. Cal Fire actually way back in early, in 96, 97, had the first program to train those to be part of the critical incident debriefings. And what we discovered was that over a period of about 2 or 3 years, Cal Fire, who headed that up, where people retired or promoted or moved to other locations. And I talked to a couple of people that are still there. At that time, we moved the program to the Sheriff's Department. I took responsibility for it. And now currently, Cal Fire has an outstanding peer support program, and they take care of those things.
Can you tell them about the documentary that you just produced at Etna High School? That you were part of, the every 15 minutes documentary?
Okay, I guess that would be ceremonial. The high schools in the county over the years have done the every 15-minute program, a drunk driving program, and the chaplains have always been involved in that, along with the law enforcement. Just recently, we were out in Etna at Etna High School, and so I was out there, and they asked me on the second day where they had the funeral service, memorial thing, and they asked me to MC that and actually have a very short, what a pastor might do at a memorial service. And so we had other speakers, so I was part of that. I did videotape all of that, the high school has that. And so that's, again, that's another area. Then the support thing, I'm out with search and rescue. I get all the call outs, and I don't necessarily go immediately, but I begin to monitor what's going on and show up at the meeting. The special response team, the SWAT team, and all that call out list. I told them a long time ago, if you guys are called out as bad, the chaplain should be close by in case something happens. Again, it's a couple hours to happy camp in Mount Shasta. And so I try to get there and do it. And I really tell the Japanese people about this, even in the middle of the night, if you got something going on and you think you need the chaplain, have dispatch call me. I said, I will get up, I'll respond. If I'm not needed, I'll just go back home. But if I'm needed, it's good that I'm on the way. So I'm part of those groups, the dive team. I come to the DARE programs here recently in McCloud, DARE graduation program. I come to be supporting with that, along with the supervisor and some others who support that. So we really try to do that. And then I've been attending these community meetings. And this is a support thing. I tell the sheriff, let me just say, the counseling that we do, we're here to help everyone. And our chaplains are pastors, or retired pastors, and we bring the spiritual side of things. We are not indoctrinating people, we're there to help people, but we bring that similar to military chaplains. We provide spiritual guidance if that's what is needed at certain times. So I kind of like to say that I'm the sheriff's spiritual bodyguard. That's why I'm not at the table, I'm the valley. My eyes are everywhere. And then comes the counseling portion of that. It can take many forms. I will help deputies make death notifications. If I can, dispatch calls me, deputy calls me, I'll be with them and go and notify family of the death in the home. And then most deputies have a lot to do. They take a quick report of what's taking place, and if they can get back on duty, I will stay at that home with that individual until a neighbor or a family member gets there. I don't leave with the deputy, I always drive my own vehicle, so that I can provide that then to the community people that need that in that moment. And I've met with them in their homes, I've gone with them to the mortuaries, given some guidance if they have any questions, just to be supported in that way. Occasionally, we have suicides in the county, and I'll get called out on those, and do similar things, two things with that, though. Number one, I really want to make sure our deputies, other officers are okay with what's happened, they have to deal with this stuff. So I follow up, I make sure that they're okay, and again, I deal with families and help them out with that. There was a time on the death notifications, I get calls at 3 in the morning, or maybe 4 in the morning, every once in a while, one of the dispatchers, and he would call me out and say, Chaplain, we need you to meet with Deputy so-and-so, need to make a death notification. Okay, I'll be there. So I get up to where I make there, where we're going, I drive out, and we make the notification. Well, when we go to make the notification, guess what we have to do? We have to bang on the door, we have to wake someone up, and I still remember one elderly lady who never heard us banging on the door. Her son had passed away in the hospital. The deputy walked in, got in, had his light, walked down the hall, and I was afraid he would wake her up and shock her with his big clothes. But he finally got her awake, and we were able to tell her what had happened. So he went on his way. I stayed. I made a couple phone calls for her, waited until my granddaughter got down from Medford to be with her. One day I went in, I told that dispatcher, I said, David, how come you send us out to wake people up to get really bad news? But that's the policy, because we try to, the goal is to make notification before it's broadcast on the news. And guess what the biggest issue is? We cannot drive the cell phones. We find numerous times we go to a place and somebody drives by and says, I think I recognize that car, and get up, call the family and say, has something happened? We don't hardly have a chance. But we're good what we can. That's part of what we do. I want our guys to have a good career. Critical incidents can really stress them out. We deal with that stress stuff in their life, I want them to have a good retirement. That's part of what we do. So, one of the things that I'm involved in, we have a law enforcement academy, if you don't know, at COS. It's been about 8 years, and I've been teaching. I teach about 20 hours each academy on wellness, about stress management, emotional survival. And we talk about the things for these younger guys as they enter into the career we want them to stay healthy and ultimately have a good return. So that's kind of what I do. The biggest part of all that is building relationships. I don't just sit in the office. I'm glad for the contract, which lets me be very proactive rather than just responding to a call or dispatch. So I'm out and about, and I'm trying to build relationships. That's why I go with all these groups that rescue and such. I'm there, I help out, I hope they get to know me. And earlier in the years, I used to do a lot of cooking, barbecuing for them out in the field. And they really appreciate that. And I often wonder when people say, I'm here if you guys ever need to talk about stress or whatever. And the biggest issue that will come up, like when the happy camera time, they'll be doing some certain supports and stuff like that, and I just wanted to see what's going on. A couple of deputies showed up, Chaplain, you're here, that's great, where's the food? And so, you know, I didn't build relationships like that. But that's what it's all about, building relationships. And if I'm in the communities, I try story of the day and age in which we live. I get a badge. I don't have a gun. That's because my Bible is on. But I don't have lights and siren on my truck because I need to go so chaplain. And one night I got a dispatch out. I hustled and I got there and the said, "Wow, Chaplain, you got here real fast." I said, "Well, in the day in which we live, I just decided to identify as a real peace officer with lights and siren." So we gotta have a little fun. These are things that we do. I enjoy what I do. That's why I'm still doing it. 29 years I've been doing this.
Keith is very humble, but I'll tell you, he is a tremendous blessing for our agency and our community, and I'm very thankful that he serves with us. So give him a round.
Good evening, Rick Dean, Community Development Director. The Planning Department, the Building Department, and Environmental Health. Before we get involved with this, I just want to say, Chaplain Bradley, a little humble there on the cooking side of things. He brought the barbecue to the finale. So, I'm very good to share that with you. I'm just going to try to be brief because we're on a hard one already past this. I'll just give you a rundown of what community development does. Basically, our department pretty much touches everything you do in your normal everyday life. So we're really health and safety driven. So pretty much you know the bathroom, flushing the toilet. You were there, kind of making that happen. You know? So, let's talk about our environmental health division, first of all. You get three different divisions. There's the land use division, and the land use division. So I mentioned flushing the toilets, your drinking water, we're there with the wells and so forth. Kind of land division that happens, subdivisions and so forth, where they're proving out those for everybody. We get that on board. We also oversee the public trust doctrine, which is basically the impact to our navigable waterways. Consumer protection is probably where we're most in contact with you guys. Inspect the body art facilities, food facilities, and events. And I just want to say that the chamber here, working with them over the years, has done a fabulous job with the events on the style. Blue Ribbon, as far as Sister County goes, you guys have bring in a lot of people into your community and do it safely. And thank you for cooperating with us, consumer protection and foods, right? Because from my perspective, it's one of our most potential areas for things to go wrong. We've got a lot of people coming in. If we have anything to go sour with the food vendors and so forth, it's going to be a massive impact. So, hats off to you. It's been a great relationship for the last 10 years when we started out. It just gets better and better. The Mushroom Festival this year was outstanding. You guys did a great job with the Lumberjack Fiesta. It's just really been a pleasure working with you and keeping things safe. If you haven't get bit by a dog, we'll be there to go quarantine that animal and make sure it doesn't have rabies. You go through that process, you don't have to go see the doctor and get some shots there. So, really important. Doesn't sound like a whole lot, but rabies is a fatal disease. It's rare, but if it happens, you fall over, you don't get back up. So, it's something to stay on top of. We also inspect organized camps, swimming pools, spas, and state and small water systems. We're quarterly with the bacteriological aspect. Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask you, how long do they get quarantined for?
10 days.
Because we have a couple in town that keep biting people.
Really? Well, report it.
It has been reported numerous times, I guess.
So there'll be a conversation with the sheriff sometimes, brings us how we
They
get
were out
notified
there this
mostly
morning.
is when someone presents at the hospital. The hospital is required to document that and send us the report, and we will contact it. But we need to have that life card generated with some capacity. You can call our office directly in the sheriff's department. Sir?
So those dogs on, and I will say, they were in Minnesota, were removed by the animal control.
Okay, good.
But my understanding is they are back. So what is there something, when you take a dog and it's bitten a couple of people, are they given back to the owner after a certain time?
Kind of depends on the situation. You best explain it. If the dog is on their property and then someone enters the property and the fight occurs, he's on his turf, right? If they're off, they're out moving about, and the fight occurs there, and it's repetitive, then it can escalate to the point of a vicious dog here, which is done through the ag department and animal control.
These dogs were not on their property. They were off property and bit two people here like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
But I just found out just a little bit ago that they are back and running the streets.
Give it to me afterwards, give the details on that.
Okay.
I am not animal control, but we work with them. Yeah. I'm on the panel that oversees the dog things. Hazardous materials. So this is another division. We're pumping gas. We were there inspecting that underground storage tank, make sure it's not leaking in the environment. Same with the above ground tanks. Cal water, that's there we have really extreme hazardous materials. With that, composting facilities, the emergency response that hazmat things, medical waste, landfills, big old list. Also, get involved with a lot of disasters, Mr. Tsunami, long-term recovery efforts for these fires. Just honors is hard to see, hard to do it. It's a long, long time. Kills the resources that the county has, quite frankly, as far as revenue and everything. Nonetheless, that's kind of a wrap up there in environmental health. Building department. Another question. How long does it take the county to get a building department out of the way? A year? I heard a year. 6 months. Very long time, right? I've heard as much as 16 months. Down at the local bar. So I just want to kind of put those rumors at ease now. We had some of our times, board of supervisors got behind us, helping out to generate a team, so we're down to 30 days now. One of the highlights that we have now also are pre-approved building plans. So these are all pre-engineered, they're pre-reviewed. You can come and go through a selection of 400 square foot studio up to a 1,600 square foot home and take possession of those plans. For anybody who wants to build a home. You didn't see it. Moving on to planning division. Currently, we are under Indian Land supervision, going through our general plan update for the county. And not sound, what is that? I don't know what that is. It hasn't been addressed for 45 years. It's supposed to be addressed at least every 10. So we're able to scratch a little money together, the board of supervisors, and get on track. So we're about halfway through this process right now. Initiate, we've done the conditional background reports, we've finished up with the community vision guideline principles. We're currently looking at the zoning code revisions right now. And I'd like to encourage you all to participate, because this is your county, this is where we're going, right? So, there's an opportunity for you to go to the website of the planning, county website, and you can sign up actually to get notifications when we're having meetings to discuss certain items along the pathway. There'll be a lot of opportunities with the planning commission and also the board of supervisors to participate and try to shape how this all comes together. So, please feel free to do that. Moving on to code enforcement, which is under the planning division. So, right now, we only have 2 hard charging code enforcement officers. It's been in progression to build up to the team that we have right now. We're very proud of them. They do a lot of work, a lot of cases. And cover a variety of things. Everything to do with building, to do with environmental health, to do with planning, code violations. They're on the ground trying to make those things better, so to speak. And to the point about the alleyways and garbage and so forth, we have to jump in. Gives a complaint, you can go online and file that and call us and come knock on the door. Just a little.
Yes. Is an individual file a complaint?
Sure.
So if I saw someone's alley or their house and I was really concerned, I would file a complaint.
Yeah.
And does it take more than one complaint to do for it?
Hopefully not. You know, we do have a triage system, we actually will do a lot of things. We're in the system. Yeah, there are. Sir.
So, going on code enforcement, so how long does it take if I won't be here on the wood, so there's a couple of houses on Lower Chestnut Alley that you can, it's hard to even get your car through. So, I'm gonna bet code enforcement's been called out there multiple times. How long does it take to get the process, to get everything done?
Yeah. Very good question, and a difficult one to answer. We don't have a lot of teeth, and we don't have a lot of support from county council just because they're so hammered with everything else. The process, basically, we go out, meet the person, identify the issues, convince them to please clean this up, give them 14 days of notice to comply, right? If they don't do that, we check in with them. Then we go to citation. And we have 3 tiers of citations, right? The whole time we're trying to get them to voluntarily comply, because that's really what we're trying to do.
Right.
To seek out voluntary compliance in every case. Fine, if we're still not successful, then, right now, we're going to a dead file, basically, for county council to deal with. They haven't had the resources to do so. We have just recently went out to an independent firm, Curtis and Wright. Yeah, so we just developed a contract so we can utilize their services to try to expedite those situations. So hopefully that will improve. But don't give up on us. Yes, ma'am.
What's your definition of blight?
There it is.
Yeah.
Actually, that's the definition of blight.
Because it causes an environmental hazard?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It has to be.
Both has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's
So
what I
it's
say.
how come they don't go directly, because I was a landlord for years, and I don't know why you would go directly to the landlord and find them. They are responsible for their rent.
it's always the property owner.
So,
that we go
are,
after.
do they go to the landlord?
Yeah,
Have-
yes,
have-
100%. The property owner is responsible.
Have
We
they,
can cite both,
have
but
they for this issue? Which issue? But
I
have
have
they?
a question. Dunstable has a position with nests like that. Is it because it's a city, McCloud's not a city? Like you said,
yeah,
the procedure you're taking will all time, and you can't do anything. But the city of Dunstable
has a personal payroll to clean stuff out of that.
Yeah, and, they have to go through the same process that we do. Any code enforcement officer has to go through that due process to get to where they're at. Yeah, and so the cities, kind of depends on the jurisdiction. If they have money, they have capital, they can take it to the point of abatement, clean it up, clean the property, and try to recover that money. Just in the last 2 years, the county's come in a position where we have some dollars set aside. We've got 5 projects on the books right now, working through the county council, through the due process to clean it up. We're going to continue to do that as long as we have dollars to do it. Sir?
So like, we're talking about the alley there, the fire department can't get through the alley, say there's a fire next door to it, they can't get through the valley, whoever's house that is, I'd be suing the fire department and the city of Siskiyou County, because they can't get in, because nothing was done about it. It's been brought up for years about a couple of houses here, and nothing has been done about it.
I don't think suing the fire department would cause.
I don't mean, I'm just saying, not suing the fire department, but you guys can't get in, somebody's gonna sue somebody, you know, the way it goes in California.
Yes,
I mean, come on. Somebody's got to do something about this. I mean, it's been going on for a long time, just like these dogs. These dogs are running around shit. I had face to face that thing with the dog the other day in my yard. The dog that probably bit the guy, or whoever it was. Came from the same place. I mean, come on. Somebody's got to do something around here.
The one on Minnesota has been this way for 10 years at least.
I mean, we just keep hearing story and story. There's no resources. But, hell, we pay taxes. I mean, come on.
I hear you, sir. Any other question?
I've called up to the county about several times on different houses here in McCloud, and they say that we don't have an abatement law in McCloud, and so that's why none of this goes through, because we don't, in McCloud, we do not have an abatement law. And we could go to the county and confront them, but it's the same thing, you can wait forever.
Yeah, I mean, we're not perfect. Just saying, right? So we'll try to address those issues better for you. But the reality is, McCloud, we have a service district, we're not incorporated, right? So code enforcement is the county for McCloud.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
So I took a parcel out in the forest, and I'm just wondering how we can go about getting an address. I've been told a couple of different things, so I just want to hear from you.
Yeah. In order to get an address, you need to have a building permit issued to you.
So septic permit wouldn't do it, it has to be an actual building permit.
Correct. Yeah.
And what if you really don't plan to build? You still need to build a building?
It's tied to the structure, right? An address, place of dwelling. Yeah. If you're a fire response, you have a structure to protect the to. Yes, ma'am.
Back to the vacation rentals. Is there
Uh-huh.
a limit in McCloud?
There is. Board of Supervisors, planning division, looked at this concerns, right? Basically expressed when McCloud initially started this, right? So currently in place, South County, which includes McCloud, Mount Shasta, Dunster, has a limit on a 2.5 acre parcel. So any parcel that's under 2.5 acres cannot get a vacation rental permit. And that pretty much covers all of the town of McCloud.
Those that are already a vacation rental are grandfathered in. So
Yeah,
that-
they're already existing and have a permit to there. Yeah. But you have to have a use permit to operate. So we're routinely, during the winter time, when we have more time, we go out and look at sites and try to determine if there's some out there that are operating. Okay. Any more questions? Other than get cracking. So this is clearly a zoning violation situation. Talked about like just examples of code enforcement issues, electrical issues that show up a lot with the illegal cannabis cultivation. they don't come and get permits for things they do. This is just to give you an idea of what we deal with, we'll deal with cannabis cultivation. Typically, very frequently,
Marijuana grows.
trash is,
That's amazing.
that's the dump site, that's the main trash. This is your basic, septic system that's out there. We did not permit that, so.
I know where they can buy some toilets.
Back here. Yeah, I like this one because it's being very efficient. It uses like the same hole for both the trash and yeah, so these are the nuisance violations that code deals with half the time is spent out. Coordination with the sheriff and the marijuana eradication team. And, we have code enforcement embedded and also environmental health embedded with the sheriffs. A lot of hazardous materials out there on the roadsides, illegal pesticides, as the sheriff has mentioned. And this is just an example down here of the road of what's in the bags. So we've got, light it on fire, creates big plume and so forth to kill the insects and whatnot. But yeah, we've retrieved a lot of pesticides. We work directly with the DA's office and their interrogates with folks to build cases and try to get some cases to the level of the felony, which is hard because most everything out there is really misdemeanor. Not a lot of that's going to do. That said, the team that's doing a bad job for you is out here working hard. As difficult as it is, you can go through that same process or discuss, right? Citation. And we're getting some semi-volunteer folks that are programming along and cleaning up the properties. And I think the last 2 years, code enforcement has cleaned up over 200 properties out there for this situation.
You can go clean up someone's property?
We can ask people to clean up their property.
No, I know not. Say I went to someone's house and I said, oh, let me give you a hand.
Yeah.
And then in the night, I went and cleaned up their property.
Like
That's
that.
part of neighborhood watch.
Yeah. Kind of like the tooth fairy showing up.
How do you use that against the law? It is, isn't it?
It's being
It is
legal.
against the law, and it's over the law.
They let you.
But if they don't know I'm doing it, it's against the law.
Now you're trespassing.
I'm trespassing. I'm taking your garbage.
So regarding the issues with the alleyways, has anyone directly spoke with code enforcement on that?
I would think so.
We don't know. I'll put our neighborhood watch, we don't do it.
We could talk to the sheriff's department all the time. So, my name is Tom Sardi, and I'm actually the lead to the neighborhood, the McCloud neighborhood watch. And we've been going now for 6 weeks. So every night, sometimes early morning, we patrol streets and alleys. And we work closely with the sheriff's department. I will say that, like the sheriff of LaRue, his department has really stepped up their game. They have come in here, been seen here a lot more. I have personally, myself, called 911 on 3 different occasions and had 2 units in here within 10 minutes. So, I do work with the liaison, Sergeant Elias, who's trying to keep me in mind. What I can do, what I can't do is my wordies don't follow and observe. So it's been a great partnership, and we're going to continue to do what we do. We have roughly 30 people who go out on patrol. And if Mark is still here, Mark, if you haven't joined our site, we have a private Facebook page. I post the citizen portal every single day. I do a 2-day period. So I do not post arrests. I will not put a name out there, whether good or bad. It's a private, I keep it private. I do get a lot of people who give me some good information that I pass along, but I never share it. So, in Jess Harris, you know, when I need something, and he gets on it. So, it's.
Good job, Mr. Harris.
So, I have no complaints. Sheriff's Department is great. The only complaint I have is the code enforcement is just not great. And what's happening is vehicles that are getting dumped. People are tired. They don't like the fact that CHP comes out, they tag it. In 72 hours, they come out and say, well, what do you want me to do with it? Well, I want you to move it. They said, we don't have the money. So what happens is people take it into their own hands and move it. So that's the problem. And our county laws, the fact that, you know, you only have to move 500 feet, it's just a game. You know, 500 feet, you just go around the block. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's something that needs to be looked into.
Yeah, well, definitely, Tom, let's communicate, let's bring up the game here. We do with code enforcement often. We have connections to folks that are just salvage people. So once a junk slip issued, a lot of times they'll just gonna pick it up and take it and recover it for the salvage problem.
Yeah, I'm sure if, you know, if someone could get convinced to get that garbage moved, we could get a bunch of volunteers to go in there and roll it for them.
Okay, we'll go back and check on our specifics. We are? Questions? Pretty much?
I think we covered that.
Yeah, but to submit a complaint, you can go online and do it there. You can come and talk to the front counter, do it there, and give us a call, actually, code enforcement. We'll get that on the docket. As far as the dogs go, I'll coordinate more with animal control as they get off the streets. But we have to get those reported, those dog bites, report it, so we can come and do the ratings concentration, because that process right there will take them off the streets at least for 10 days.
Well, my understanding, one of the person who was bit has filed a suit already.
With the dog owner, correct? Or?
I don't know. That's it. I heard he's filed a lawsuit, a civil suit against the owner. So all I know.
Yes, yeah. The vaccination's not 100%. Yeah, so we observe them. They don't come with symptoms within 10 days. No, they're not going to happen.
Yeah, so I came from Sacramento County, and we fought an issue with a dog who came in and killed a bunch of animals that we had. And animal control there in Sacramento County went to the owner and says, we either going to take the dog and put it down, or you have a chance to kennel this dog with a 10-foot fence that cannot get out. Anytime you take it out, you've got to have a leash. So Sister County doesn't have any rules to that.
Yeah, the ag department, animal control, like I mentioned, there are tiers, right? Dogs out, biting folks off the property. They will initiate a hearing for that. And there are 2 tiers. There's the vicious dog, basically determine if the property owner will have those choices you spoke of. You can continue it in there. Ag Commissioner will detail what they have to do to keep it on.
Yeah, so this house we're talking about, there's no yard. It's all open, like no both lot of them.
Yeah.
When they go out to go to the bathroom, they can go anywhere.
But the actual bites that you reported is huge for that case. If you just have, well, we have random dogs running around, it's not going to have any expeditious action.
And I will say this to you, Sheriff, as many people who were here tonight, there's probably just as many people watching my feed. Yeah. Good turnout.
Okay. Thank you for your input. Try to do a better job for you, sir. Thank you. I am finished. Our team is full.
some notes, because it's important to me, and hearing things that you brought up about whether it's code or sheriff's office, anything. And so one of the challenges that I have in my own mind as sheriff is, like, I know what I'm supposed to do with my job, just take care of people, and many of us battle with this, but it's not having resources, not having money, it grinds on us, because that shouldn't be the obstacle, and it certainly shouldn't be it's just the way it is. So without those things, we have to find creative ways, and for instance, what Tom was talking about, this is pretty unique in McCloud, what's going on. I'm thankful for the partnership that we have and our, wherever he went, Sergeant McCloud, for committing to this and making sure that it gets better. And there's certainly a place for the public to supplement, but again, as you said, you pay taxes. Well, that's true. And
Where do they go?
yeah,
Before they come to the county.
right. Well, the state steals everything. Hope they're listening. No. So, you know, I have a different concept of things, and I'm hoping that eventually we get to a place where, with our budgeting process and things, is that the communities get to look at what's important to them and kind of determine where their tax dollars go. You would trust us in the county to do that, and we do the best that we can, but I really wish that you were part of this, because, and this isn't meaning that, because I would take all the money, because it's always sheriff's office stuff, but you should get the kind of leadership, and you should get the kind of sheriff's office that you deserve. And what does that look like? Well, I don't want to be the obstacle. Money is the obstacle. I love creative solutions, but I just want you to know that this is something that bothers me. So back in the day, McCloud had several deputies in here. They patrolled the streets. They didn't even leave. They couldn't even go past, Ski Park Highway, this side of Snowman's, and things change. Money shrinks, positions shrink, same responsibility. What do? But this is where my frustration is, and I just want you to know that I'm committed to getting people back here. We're like 16 positions short, and again, that's not an excuse, it's just reality. I'm hoping that we get to a place where we keep hiring, but I don't want you to ever think that we're not thinking of you. So, any support that you can have, I appreciate Supervisor Harris, very supportive of the Sheriff's Office, and obviously code enforcement and emergency services and those represented here. And I know he's a man of his word, and he does really care about this community and public safety, and that's why he's been elected. And so we have creative ideas, and we want to work with the public on these things. I'm excited about that. And what I'm thinking of, though, as a possibility is when we're talking about things in the community, and then I'm here, this is what I'm listening to. I think we call, or maybe we call, and it's not on you, but I'm like, how do we firm that up? Maybe it's possible that we have something like a portal that has like a community map on it. We have them internally, and then it's a place maybe that you can go and add information for us. Like this disgusting yard, or we have an issue with the alleyway. And the good thing about this is it takes it from your hands and it puts the burden back on us to do our job. And whether that's a sheriff's office issue, code, or whatever, and that helps us elevate the issue, because we go back to our, the board, and they hear it frequently too, and the attorneys or whomever, and say, look, we have a problem, and here's the evidence, and help us. Like, this is what we need to do, and I'm wondering if that might help, because you can then kind of label things the way they are, the things you're seeing, and we can capture it. We can look at it. We can look and go, wow, these 4 locations have hazards, or they have junk, and you can add a picture. I don't know. I'm trying to think of how we could maybe do that, but that would at least build a database that everyone can see. So it's not like, well, did you report? Well, let's look and find out. And so it's like almost like our map, but it would let you look at specific stuff and let you add things. And if you're roaming around the community, you're going to see things the same we are. And I think that would help at least consolidate things and bring transparency to it. Other things, government's not good at, but we aim to be good at that. So maybe that's a thing that we can work on, because again, we have to figure out a way with resource issues to still serve you. We can't let that be an obstacle. So how do we be creative? These are just things I'm throwing out. But I don't want to ever come to you and say, well, you just can't do it. Because that's not, none of us say that. None of us are going to say no. And again, we work for you. And you should demand better out of us, and we should do that. So that's the appropriate level of that, and I want to make sure that we do that. One other thing with Mount Shasta Forest, I mentioned about addresses. If you can, anytime you call if you're in one of those places, if you can give dispatch any information, whether it's through fire or CHP or the sheriff's office, APM numbers. I mean, you could say make a left-hand turn by a big oak tree, and then you go this, anything that would help us, because sometimes we get calls in locations that, you might call 911 and it might be a ping on a phone, or we don't get it, and then we're out driving around wasting time trying to find things. But any of that information would be good. Neighbors, what you're seeing, the color of the house, a lot number. This happens out in KRCE, Klamath River Country Estates, up by Hornbrook. They have lot numbers, and even that's helpful. But it's not an address, but it's like we're driving around looking for. But we can plug in APMs, and it'll bring up that exact location. So just remember, anything you want to record, just get everything out there when you call in, and it will help us with that information. Yes.
Tom did that somewhat with the calls on Minnesota, right? You just posted it. In 60 days, they had 22 calls there.
I did. I actually brought it up to Sergeant Elias earlier that in the last 60 days, there were 22 calls to Minnesota Hazard. And I was asking him, is there a next step that can be done? But it's yeah. So I did bring it up to my man over here, so.
But I mean, that's a good way to do it. I mean, look at, you figured it out, how many times they've had to go there. And
It's
still, it's happening still.
And it's a lot of wasted money going to one house.
Sounds like a good location for a satellite office.
Well, actually, I actually thought they should have detonated that grenade there last night.
Stop hearing something. Did you say something, Tom? I didn't hear you.
Yeah, no,
So,
I joke a lot.
and can I throw this out too about McCloud? Not that you have to open up your living rooms, but we're always looking for a new home. That's always been an issue of county property. If anybody has, we'd love to have a substation.
I will give you a room for free. Yeah. And actually, if you give me a badge, I will volunteer my hours.
But I'm dead serious about that. I mean, there's limited space here. We've never really had it. It's something we struggle with in the Scott Valley area. But one of the ways to start kind of getting back and staying is start rooting ourselves. And anything we can do to help that, I think would change some minds and stuff I can push too. So just think about that. I know there's not a lot of buildings, but we'd like to come home.
Well, I do believe the service district has a old police, old jail. That's it.
Perfect. Let's talk. Okay, so I know we've been going. You guys have been real patient. I hope it's good information. Again, this is about you and your serving you. If you have questions or something we'll talk about after that, stick around. And we'll do more of these.
Can I add one more thing? So, no? So, neighborhood watch I'm sure you know, is more than just patrolling or watching. It's bringing the community together. So, McCloud is doing his first national night out. I'm not sure you're aware of it. So, my wife is actually heading it. We have a lot going on. It's going to be free. So we're trying to bring the community together. So the reason I'm saying this is Jess has promised me that he could come for a few minutes because I know you have one in Wairika. And I was hoping you could come too, and then you could both go in your car with lights and siren and get back there a lot quicker.
Free food, except for the caramel.
So if you do want a brochure, we did bring a bunch.
I'm,
Oh,
That's okay.
I'm trying to say I could go to camp within my house.
Can we already?
No, yeah. Hey, anytime you can say, man, I got